There's an old saying that energy security is national security, but this warning has been ignored over and over again by successive governments in the UK desperate to appear to be doing something to tackle climate change. And over a couple of decades has seen reliable baseload generation of coal and nuclear wither, only to be replaced by weather-dependent wind and solar. The one fuel that has been propping up this net zero fantasy is gas, and now even that is at risk as supplies run out. And if you're watching this, you're probably as sick to death of the blatant lies spun by governments around the world as I am, that renewable energy is cheaper than other forms of energy. This is industrial grade BS that any half-competent engineer knows full well, but it is propped up by dodgy research by organisations that are either fellow travellers of the green agenda like CRO here, or have vested interests in renewable power. It's a scandal, quite frankly. The UK's experiment with net zero is already collapsing and can only get worse, and we should learn from that failure rather than blindly following them down the same path, as we are doing at the moment. But worse than that, imagine a hostile actor cutting the flow of gas to the UK, which could plunge it into a situation far more serious than just an energy crisis. This is the dangerous reality of net zero, and it's time we woke up to it. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. I'm closing in on 100k subscribers, which is absolutely crazy. So if you're one of the majority of my viewers who are not subscribed to this channel, please just click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you'd like to contribute to the channel, why not buy me a coffee? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. We'll come on to the fragility of Britain's electricity grid in a minute, but first, with snow blanketing the UK, or as you could think of it, 6 inches of global warming, the country is suffering from the Dunkelflaute phenomenon that we've talked about before, a common winter combination of dull, overcast skies and calm conditions, which equates to zero solar power and zero wind power. And without the rainbows and unicorn farts to power the grid, what's left? Well, at the moment, that evil fossil fuel, gas, thankfully, but there ain't much of that left either. Gas reserves plunged to concerning low with only a week of supply left. UK storage sites only half full as Britain braces for low wind speeds and freezing temperatures. Gas reserves have plunged to a concerning low with just a week of supply left as Britain braces for low wind speeds and freezing temperatures this weekend. The UK's storage sites are now only half full, according to British gas owner Centrica, 26% lower than this time last year. It comes as the country faces calm weather until the end of the week, as well as an amber warning for cold. The Met Office is predicting lows of between -15 and -20 Celsius in parts of Scotland and the north of England on Friday evening. Britain's net zero dependence on wind farms has made shortages more likely when speeds fall, particularly in conditions known as a Dunkelflaute, where the calm is accompanied by cold weather which forces up energy use to stay warm. Only 6.9% of British energy supply is currently coming from wind. And the boss of Centrica is still fully committed to the green power fantasy. Chris O'Shea, chief executive of Centrica, said, "The UK's gas storage levels are concerningly low. We are an outlier from the rest of Europe when it comes to the role of storage in our energy system, and we are now seeing the implications of that. As we work towards clean power 2030, long-duration energy storage will be needed more than ever in order to help balance a system that is increasingly reliant on renewables." Long-duration energy storage. Yeah, that would be a bloody great tank full of gas, mate. Or a few trainloads of coal. Not some wildly expensive battery storage system that might power the grid for a few seconds perhaps, if you're lucky. When the people at the top continue to see a wind and solar grid propped up with giant batteries as the answer, you've got a huge problem. Do they even realise how much grid-level batteries would cost? Probably the entire GDP of the UK and all the minerals left on the planet. But as I've said before, net zero trumps everything. even common sense. And the grid almost fell over last week. Britain scrambles to prevent blackouts as temperatures plummet. Grid operator seeks to bolster power as cold weather expected to drive higher electricity use. The electricity grid operator is scrambling to bolster Britain's power supplies to guard against blackouts as temperatures plummet. As weather forecasters issued snow warnings for swathes of South England, the National Energy System Operator, NESO, said it expected power supplies to become particularly tight on Wednesday evening between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Cold weather is expected to spark, get it, increased electricity consumption as more people stay indoors, watch television and use their gas or electric heating. At the same time, a sharp drop in wind power and low availability of power interconnectors with Europe will also put more pressure on the grid. In response, NESO issued a string of market warnings on Wednesday to alert electricity generators and suppliers that it wanted to bolster supplies further. There is no suggestion currently that there will be blackouts or that power cuts are imminent, the notices stressed. But one added, in the short term we would like a greater safety cushion between power demand and available supply. Hourly day-ahead electricity prices for between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Wednesday evening are higher than £300 per megawatt hour, according to market provider Nord Pool. The warning underlines some of the challenges facing the government as ministers switch to a power system based predominantly on intermittent wind and solar farms, with wind becoming the country's single largest power source in 2024. Well, I hate to say it, but a few power cuts in the UK might just wake people up to the harsh reality of the havoc that is being wrought on the grid. Once the gas heaters are all banned and everyone has electric heat pumps, they'll certainly know about it when there's no juice to power them and they're literally freezing to death. Which of course exposes another myth of the alarmists, that a climate a few tenths of a degree warmer is going to be catastrophic for the planet. Far more catastrophic is extreme cold, which kills way more every winter than summer heat ever does. Here in Australia we're lucky, certainly here in Sydney, it never really gets cold enough to kill, so the idiocy of Chris Bowen's energy policy isn't likely to cause loss of life to the same extent. But in the UK, if you don't have heating, it could certainly be a life and death issue for many. I feel desperately sorry for my former country, but it has lost its way in so many things that I fear it may never recover. 1,000 years of history pissed away in a couple of decades. If it continues down the current path, the lights will, figuratively and literally, go out.